Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to, let's see here. Yesterday we had a culminating session of OLC4O Term 2B. So let's do, welcome to the penultimate class of OLC4O Term 2B. So penultimate means, I like to throw a lot of new words at you, so it means the second to last, right? So I love that word. So this is the second to last class that we'll do for OLC4O Term 2B because, of course, our grad ceremony is on June 15th, so I won't be broadcasting on that day. So welcome to a penultimate session of OLC4O Term 2B, brought to you by Wassa Distance Education Center. And I'm your instructor, Mike Laverty. Thank you for joining me today on Tuesday, June the 13th, 2023. We are on class 33, and we are continuing our final exam review. So we are, I guess, we're not really reviewing the final exam because I'm not going to show you the questions that are going to be on the final exam, but we're doing some final exam preparation. And this is our second part of doing that. We started doing this yesterday, and today we'll continue that, and tomorrow we'll do the same thing and wrap up our time together. So yeah, I've really enjoyed teaching this course, and hopefully you have taken some insights and gotten some help on your assignments by watching my classes either through live on the air or watching the archive sessions on YouTube. So just wanted to give a shout out to everybody out there who has listened or is listening, and hopefully you've learned something along the way. I know I certainly have. I learn by teaching as well. So if you have any closing thoughts, you want to reach out to me, by all means, feel free to do that. I will put my contact information up on the screen in a moment. But yeah, let's proceed with with getting you ready to write the final exam. So just a note that we do broadcast live every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 1 p.m. to 1:50 p.m. Central Standard Time. The number to phone into the studio is 1-800-465-7144, or locally in the 807 region by dialing 1-807-737-4017. You can phone in with questions or comments or a song or a funny joke or anything you can do, really. I know that this is wrapping up, but just note that any other courses you take at Wassa, if they're broadcasting live throughout the term, you can always participate with the classes live, either by listening, or if you want, you can always phone in and ask a question. If you don't want to phone in to ask a question, then by all means you can send your teacher a message or an email or a phone call. So those options are always available, but if you would like to share something on live on the radio, then by all means do that. We are live at 91.9 FM and on Bell ExpressVu channel 972. You can also listen to us and watch live on the Zoom application by going to zoom.us on a browser, or by opening up the Zoom app on your phone. And there is a chat feature that you could pose a question to me on the chat feature on Zoom. But to do that, you have to join a meeting. It'll ask for a meeting ID, and my meeting ID is 417-6699-799. So other teachers at Wassa, some of them may broadcast on Zoom, so just note that you have many different options for participating in the classes. You just need to reach out to your teacher or read the study guide to find out how to do that. So June 16th, so that is Friday. So that's this Friday coming up. That is our deadline for submitting work in this course and writing your final exam or course culminating activity. You can ask for an extension, but you got to contact me as soon as possible. So please know that deadline is fast approaching. So you need to have all of your work in this course submitted by that date. So that work includes your unit work. That includes your literacy portfolio. And that includes your final exam. So all that's got to be done by Friday. So, just keep in mind that all of these classes have all of these terms have an end date, and term 2B is, the final term. It's your final chance to get things done if you want to get a credit in 2023. And we could look at offering you an extension, but that takes a bit of paperwork and some back and forth between me and you, so you've got to contact me as soon as possible. If you can't make that deadline, then you have to register for the summer term and start your course all over again. So we're trying to avoid that. Summer term or fall term? 2023, right? You'd have to re-register for a new term. So yeah, we've gone through units 1, 2, 3, and 4, and we are on week 9 and working on our final exam preparation. You can always check out my videos on YouTube. Go to my YouTube channel. That's Laverty Wassa. So just search for me in the search bar there, and it'll come up. You can find all my videos. Reach out to me directly at mlaverty@nnecschools.org or Laverty Wassa. So you can reach out to me there. So Laverty space Wassa. Find me on Facebook Messenger. We can communicate through there. If you got any questions about the course, about finishing up, and you can send assignments there or send assignments to my email, which is again mlaverty@nnecschools.org. You can phone me, phone the Wassa building at 1-800-667-3703. That's 1-800-667-3703. That's a free long-distance number. If you got any questions about about finishing your course, getting a credit here, just wrapping up your school year, applying for the summer term, the next courses you want to take, all that, just reach out to us and we're here to help you. So at this point, basically you should have everything wrapped up, and you should have reached out to schedule your final exam or receive your course culminating activity. So if we can't schedule a final exam in your community, then looking at the course culminating activity could be an option for you. But yes, so at this point, you've got to have everything wrapped up, and just, submitting everything, or, you're thinking about completing this in the next term, either the summer or the fall. All right, let's go on to today's lesson. We'll look at today's headline. Excuse me. We're going to look at some key concepts and some learning outcomes of OLC4O. So I thought, it's one of the best things I can do besides showing you the final exam or the course culminating activity. Just go over what's really expected of you for this course, and I'm going to highlight some areas that will tell you, what kind of questions are going to be on the final exam. And then we're going to look at a practice OSSLT test. That's the Ontario Secondary School Literacy Test. So we're going to have a look at one of these practice tests together. And so we will review some of the key concepts of our course. These are your learning goals, to review some of the key concepts of this course before you take an online practice exam. And take notes as we review a previous OSSLT. So I'm hoping that you can go on and complete some of these on your own, and just to see what's going to be on there, to do some practice. It'll be very helpful. Even if you don't get it graded, and even if you don't get a mark associated with it, it's just good to just complete it, or even just at the very least just read it and just look at it and just see what's going to be on there. All right, and your success criteria are to put the key concepts of OLC4O into action while completing at least one practice exam. So that's what I'm hoping you can do. After watching this class and taking some notes, you can go on there, and that'd be, your number one success criteria. If you can go on there and complete one of these practice exams. So here's our headline for the day. Canada's drastic new alcohol guidelines demand a closer look. This was published in January 20th, 2023. The photo caption reads, "Alcohol's association with cancer is important to examine, but understanding risk of the disease also needs context." So early in 2023, the government of Canada, released some new alcohol guidelines, and this is an article that's about it. I want to note that it is an opinion piece. So someone's offering their opinion, and their purpose is to persuade you of a certain opinion, right? So we've talked about news reports a lot in this course, and those are primarily just giving you information. So while this article is giving you information, its primary purpose is to persuade you and to tell you, about the author's particular take on this issue. So it's someone giving their opinion, someone who's weighing in on a controversial issue. Okay, so there's our headline. Canada's drastic new alcohol guidelines demand a closer look. Let's get that guy over here. So, once again, we are looking at our parts of speech. So, Canada's. So, this is Canada, capital C, proper noun, apostrophe S. So, something belongs to Canada. So, what belongs to Canada? Guidelines. There are some guidelines that belong to Canada. They're guidelines that the government of Canada has introduced. They are alcohol guidelines. These alcohol guidelines are new, and according to the author, they are drastic, right? So the government of Canada probably wouldn't call them drastic, right? But that's oh, excuse me, I couldn't silence my mic before I sneezed. That's the author's opinion, that these guidelines are drastic. So we have three adjectives that modify the verb, right? Right? They are drastic new alcohol guidelines. So adjectives are describing words. They modify a word. And usually when you give your opinion of something, you're going to use an adjective. Like, that movie was terrible, right? That's your opinion. That movie was amazing. That movie was groundbreaking. That movie was boring, right? Those adjectives really give your opinion on something. Sometimes the adjectives aren't really someone's opinion. The fact that they're new is not really up for debate. But the fact that are they drastic or not, that's definitely up for debate. They demand. So these new guidelines demand. That's the verb. A. There's three articles in the English language, a, an, and the. So they demand a closer look. So they don't just demand any look. They demand a closer look. And so the article goes on to say, 2 drinks a week. That guidance for low-risk drinking has dominated the headlines around the latest advice Canadians have received about how much alcohol they should consume. The new Health Canada-funded guidelines, which were released by the Canadian Centre on Substance Use and Addiction this week, the CCSA, recommend revising safe drinking limits, arguing that beyond 1 to 2 drinks a week, you are increasingly at risk of a number of conditions, including heart disease, stroke, and cancer. But before you throw out your wine collection, let's try some perspective. So I love that. That's a great transition sentence, right? So in the previous one, we had a great lead paragraph that tells us, what the article is going to be about. Then we have, some further explanation. Then we get a great transition sentence. And then they go on to say, first, a caveat. I am not an anti-public health zealot. I am a scholar who studies alcohol in its social and cultural environment. So the author is telling you who they are and why they're an authority here. But I am also wary of generalized recommendations of behavior change based upon narrowly selected evidence from a cohort that sounds increasingly like the 19th century temperance movement. So the 19th century temperance movement was sort of like, this is before Prohibition, but sort of where the Prohibition movement came from, where people were trying to, reduce the amount of alcohol that people were drinking and seeing the effects that it had on society, right? So although reports have suggested that the guidelines are based on nearly 6,000 peer-reviewed studies, so a peer-reviewed study is one that's, reviewed by a bunch of people in a particular field who are, experts, and they sort of review the study, and they kind of verify that it's more or less accurate. So these studies, strict criteria ruled all but 16 systematic studies out from being used in the mathematical modeling. In other words, the CCSA is basing its recommendations on a relatively narrow understanding of how alcohol functions. So, so the article goes on, and the author gives their opinion, and they're saying, like, sure, we need to be aware of the dangers of alcohol, but maybe these guidelines are too stringent. They're too restrictive, right? So they're giving their opinion on the article, and they're going to give a lot of information about it to back up their claims. So that is, of course, an opinion article, which is one of the kind of texts that we've looked at in OLC4O, when someone's offering their opinion on something and then using evidence and details to back up that opinion. All right, so I wanted to just quickly share with you. So this is the I want to share with you the Ontario Secondary School Literacy course, otherwise known as OLC4O. So I mentioned in a previous class that some high school students take the literacy test when they're in high school. Some people, of course, who don't finish high school don't write the literacy test. And then as one of their requirements to graduate, they need to pass the Ontario Literacy course, which is otherwise known as OLC4O. Now, the Ontario government lists the curriculum. So every course you take in high school or university or elementary school, it's got a curriculum. So some group of people, in this case the Ministry of Education of Ontario, has released this document, and it's intended for teachers primarily, but it's also good for students to review it. It tells students what to expect and what to what kind of learning outcomes they're going to have, and the teacher is supposed to read this curriculum and make sure that the course that they teach and the lessons they give their students are really touching upon these learning outcomes. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a share here. I'm going to share my screen. And I'm just going to Google the Ontario curriculum. I had the link there for you, but sometimes it's just simpler just to Google it. So here it is. So just make sure I'm actually sharing that. Okay. So we're just going to have a look at some of these learning requirements. Okay. So and these are some things that you should be aware of, right? So these are the kind of texts that let's just blow that up there. These are the types of texts that you read in OSSLT. So these are informational texts. These are news reports, opinion pieces, narrative texts, graphic texts, and the emphasis in the test is on informational texts. So that's good to know, right? So the test will definitely be focused on informational text primarily, right? So we discussed this yesterday. Your understanding of directly stated ideas, indirectly stated ideas, and your ability to make connections between your personal knowledge and your experiences and what you read in a text. These are going to be tested on the literacy course and the literacy test. Your reading strategies will be using knowledge of structure and organizational elements of text to understand their meaning, their purpose, their intended audience. So that's good practice. So understanding the meaning of a text, its main idea, understanding why it was written, and understanding who it's written for. Okay, that's really important to know. Here are some writing forms that you might see in this course and on the test. Writing summaries, writing an information paragraph, writing an opinion piece, and writing a news report, right? So this is what you'll probably be tested upon, right, in your course culminating activity and your final exam. You're going to be tested on your ability to write So you will be tested on your ability to write and develop a main idea, provide supporting details to back up that main idea, organizing and linking ideas and information, right? So not just giving supporting details, but organizing them and connecting the pieces of your paper, of your writing. Using an appropriate tone for the specified purpose and audience, right? So if it's you know if you're offering your opinion on something, then you can do that. If you're writing an informational text, there's times when you can be formal, times when you can be informal, times where you can give your opinion, times where you should probably keep your opinion to yourself. Using correct grammar and punctuation, and using correct spelling, right? So these are, we've been going over the, grammar and punctuation quite a lot in this course, and correct spelling, that's just going to be, you can practice that as much as possible, but you're going to go into the exam with the skills and abilities you have. But as much as possible, you can read over your work, and I would suggest that as a general strategy for the final exam. You should be reading over anything you write down carefully, and you can read it out loud if it's possible, depending on the environment you're in, or just read it out loud inside your mind. And trust me, you'll catch a lot of mistakes by doing it that way. Yeah, and that's basically what I wanted to go through. You don't have to read this entire document. I hope that I've done this to the best of my ability. I have included these things. No, sorry, I do want to do one more thing here. Let's see here. What did I want to show you? Yes, the final evaluation. Okay, so this tells you what's going to happen on that final evaluation. So students will read a teacher-selected text related to a selected topic or theme. In writing or through a conference with the teacher, students will respond to or answer questions about the text. These responses require students to demonstrate their achievement in terms of 3 reading areas: understanding directly stated ideas and information in a text, understanding indirectly stated ideas and information in a text, and making connections between their personal knowledge or experiences and the ideas and information in the text. So that's going to happen on the final exam or the course culminating activity. You will be asked to read a text and then respond to some questions, and those questions will be, asking you to find stuff in the text, find words that are actually said by the author, that's the directly stated, find things that aren't directly stated by the author that you have to kind of like do some digging and do some guessing work to figure out. It's sort of like a puzzle piece to figure out. And you'll be asked to make some connections, either between things in the text or, relating your own life, your own personal knowledge and experiences to what you're reading. In terms of writing, the teacher will select an additional text of 250 to 300 words at an appropriate level of challenge for students to read. Students will then write a summary of that text. Students will record and organize the information they have gathered about a topic related to an assigned class activity and construct an information paragraph. So expect that. So expect a summary. Expect to write an information paragraph. So just make sure you know what a summary is, right? You're identifying the main idea of a text, and selecting some key details that you think help back up that main idea. And what is an information paragraph, right? Just you can go back and review some of the information paragraphs that you've written in this course, just to review how they're written, why they're written, and find some strategies there. Yeah, so that just gives you a general idea of what you're going to expect on this literacy test. Okay, so what I'm going to do is now I'm going to go back into my slide deck here. And so yesterday, unfortunately, I had directed you to a website that was functional at one point, but does not seem to be functional anymore. So I'm not sure what happened there. It was a great resource. It was free, and it had tons of great information on it, but I couldn't get it to work on on my computer. I couldn't get it to work on a couple of the networks that I tried, so I'm assuming the site is down. I'm not sure if it's been taken down for good or, but for what, in any case, I couldn't access it. So what I did was I did some digging, and there's a couple of school boards who have hosted this information. They have made it available on their website. So I checked it out, and these are legit links that do websites that do host some previous Ontario literacy tests. So the two sites that I found were this is Northview Heights. It's a high school in the Toronto District School Board, and this other organization, right? So those are the links. But so you can either write down those links, and I will include them in the YouTube video description. But I will just demonstrate how how I found these. And what I did was I did a Google search for Ontario literacy test practice. And let's see here. So this is the Waterloo region, or is that this? I want to make sure I find the right one. No, I don't think that was it. This is the one right here. Practice test. That's the sites.google.com. These are offered by the it's a school board in Ontario for sure. Oh, of course. I did manage to save some PDFs, so I can always email these. I can always email you a PDF copy if you can't make it work. So I'm just wondering if there's some kind of a firewall issue happening with my computer. I just can't seem to pull up the same websites that I pull up from my work desk where I plan these activities out. So thankfully I had the foresight to email some of these tests to me. So hopefully this works. I don't know why it wouldn't. I don't want to have 2 days of this. Just bear with me as I try to get this to work on my end. There we go. Okay. Okay. Just make sure I'm sharing that. All right. So what we have here is the Ontario Secondary School Literacy Test, the OSSLT, from the year 2017. So if you were a high school student in the year 2017 and I believe if you were in grade 10, you probably would have had to write this exact test. So they develop a new test for every year, so it's not repeated. And then once that year is done and they've collected all the information and they've assigned all the grades, then the government, the Ministry of Education, releases these tests online, and then they're shared online through various websites like school boards. I'm not sure why as far as I can tell, I couldn't find this on the actual ministry site, but if you do a bit of Googling, you may find a practice test, and it should look a lot like this. This is what it will look like. So maybe we can just go over some of the strategies we talked about last class. If I got a test, I would look it over, and then I would, take a deep breath. And I talked yesterday, I'm a big believer in breathing exercises and taking a slow, deep breath in. Hold it, and a really long exhale. You'd be amazed at just how much you can calm your body down and calm your mind down and just be like, okay, I'm gonna write this exam. I'm gonna do well on it. I believe in myself. I got this. Let's take a look, right? And then what I would suggest doing is just flipping through the entire exam. Okay, we've got section 1, reading. I've got section 2, writing. I wonder if did they break it down by yeah, they didn't break it down by how much each section is worth. So sometimes you might know that, sometimes you might not. So I've got a short writing task. I have to write a news report. I have to read an article and then answer some questions about it. So maybe what you want to do is you might want to just pick the section. You might want to pick the section that you think you might do the best on, and like what appeals to you. So if you want to do some writing right away, if you think you could write about a historical figure you'd like to meet with specific details to explain why you have chosen this person, right? So if you think that's something you want to do and you want to jump right into that, then by all means do that. I would suggest finding a section that you think you're gonna do well on, and just start with that, and then take it from there. But we'll just go through this section by section. So here is a reading selection. So we have to read the whole text, and then what you can do is you can read the questions they ask you. So what is suggested by the phrase crown jewel in paragraph 1? What word is closest in meaning to stately as used in paragraph 3? What happened to the Kuwaitan in 1966? What organizational pattern links paragraphs 3 and 4? What is the purpose of the quote used in paragraph 5? So I think these ones, they're going to be hard to answer. I think we should just go ahead and read the article and then go back and try to answer these. And then you have an open response question. Why might the Kuwaitan have been a popular ship for travelers? Use specific details from the selection to explain your answer. So that might be something you could keep in mind as you read through it. So, why would this ship have been popular? Why would people have wanted to take a ride on it? So here's it. So it's an information article. This could be like something featured in a newspaper, very similar to many of the articles we have read, or like maybe a newsletter, or like maybe a tourism brochure. Trying to encourage people to take a ride on this vessel. So the headline reads, "Welcome back, Kuwaitan. Last Great Lakes steamship comes home." Skyline International Development announced in October 2011 that it was purchasing the 106-meter-long steamship, the SS Kuwaitan, and returning her to Port McNicoll in the Ontario township of Tay. The vessel, which had been docked in Saugatuck, Michigan since 1967, was once the crown jewel of the mighty Great Lakes fleet of steamships operated by the Canadian Pacific Railway. The Scottish-built SS Kuwaitan was launched on July 6, 1907. It could carry 288 passengers and a crew of 86, and cruised at a top speed of 14 knots, nautical miles per hour. The steamship and its sister ship, the SS Assiniboia, were the first Great Lakes vessels equipped with radar. For almost 60 years, the Kuwaitan ferried passengers between Port McNicoll and Georgian Bay, and Port Arthur, now Thunder Bay, on Lake Superior. They traveled in style. Stately features included a grand staircase, an elegant Edwardian-era dining saloon, hand-painted Italian glass, and oak trim throughout. However, strict fire codes and faster alternatives made the wood cabin vessels obsolete by the mid-1960s. Since retirement in 1966, the Kuwaitan has served as a maritime museum. After being restored to its early 20th century grandeur, it will continue operating as a museum from a new mooring for many years to come. The adjacent waterfront park with a replica of Port McNicoll's original train station and its English-style gardens is an additional attraction. We are thrilled to return the world's last Edwardian passenger steamship to the people of Tay Township of Canada, said Gil Blutrich, Skyline's chairman and president. All right, so we read the article, and then we answer the questions. So what is suggested by the phrase crown jewel? Is it that the Keewatin was the finest example of its type? It was the largest steamship on the Great Lakes. It was the last Scottish-built passenger. It was the longest-serving steamship. So crown jewel, you know, to me that would suggest, you know, that the finest example of its type. It's the crown jewel, right? So that's what word is closest in meaning to stately. So if you don't know what stately means, you know, if we go back and we look at paragraph 3 here, and they said that it had stately features. So these are the, you know, the fancy features inside. So what does stately mean? Essential, advanced, innovative, or impressive? Right? I don't think it means advanced because these are kind of old-fashioned, and innovative doesn't make sense either. They're not really essential features. They're kind of like extras. So through a process of elimination, I would say answer D is impressive. And you can do that with multiple choice, right? You can just, you know, that's where the best strategies is, just to factor out the ones that you know are wrong, and then you can usually get it down to 2 or hopefully 1 that you think is the best answer. What happened to the Keewatin in 1966? We can just scan the article for that year, 1966. So since retirement in 1966. So it was removed from service. What organizational pattern links paragraphs 3 and 4? So paragraph 3 tells us all the things it used to have, and then we learn that it was made obsolete, and then we learn that it was retired. So is that past to present? Is that pro and con? Is that general to specific? Is that order of importance? Don't think it's pro to con. Seems like it's going from the past to the present, though. Right, this is what it used to do in paragraph 3. Paragraph 4 is what it's doing now. What is the purpose of the quote used in paragraph 5? So why do we get this quote from the chairman of this this Skyline International Development? Is it to offer factual information? Is he providing an explanation? Is he summarizing the main idea of the article? Is he introducing a contrasting view? So what did he say? He said he's thrilled that this steamship is back, you know, back where it used to belong. So why did he say that? He's not really providing further explanation. He's not really, well, this one's kind of hard, right? So he is offering factual support because this is, you know, someone involved in the story. He's not introducing a contrasting view, and he is kind of summarizing the main idea. Don't think he's providing an explanation because we've got the explanation already. So I would say it's between summarizing the main idea and to offer a factual support. And my gut would go with summarizing the main idea. And why might this have been a popular ship for travelers, right? So why did people want to travel on this ship, right? So that's the, you know, the indirectly stated information. The author doesn't tell us why people would want to travel on this ship, but maybe it's because they wanted to travel in style, right? And it would take them between different places. So you would just have to use your imagination and draw information from the text and be like, you know, why, you know, and you gotta pay attention to the wording, right? So why might the Keewatin have been a popular ship for travelers? So back in the day, right? So back in the past, why would they want to ride on it? So now they can't go for a ride on it. It's moored. It just kind of floats in the harbor. But historically, people did ride on this ship, and why did they want to ride on this ship? All right. So here's a similar sort of type of question you may see on a final exam for OLC4O. So you are choosing a sentence that does not belong in the following paragraph. So here's our sentences. Beavers are natural engineers. These mammals occupy slow-moving streams and build dams of sticks and mud. Their dams, which average 10 meters to 100 meters in length, raise water levels to create ponds. They are one of Canada's national symbols. Beavers are relentless in their efforts to shape their environment. So which sentence does not belong in here? So it's all true information as far as I can tell. I don't think that's the problem. This would be like, you know, which one of these things doesn't belong, kind of a situation, right? So which one of these sentences does not belong here? Which one should be removed? And I think, you know, there's a lot of sentences here about the different kind of habitats and how the beaver exists in the environment, and there's one that's, you know, more like a historical detail. So I would cut out number 4. That the fact that it's good to know that they're Canada's national symbols, but it doesn't really go along with the rest of the paragraph. So just find the one that can be cut, that doesn't fit with the general theme. Which word best describes the following sentence? Okay, so blank. Canada became a country in 1867. It did not officially get its own flag until almost 100 years later in 1965. So since Canada became a country, firstly, and because Canada became, so you know, because doesn't make sense. So again, you're using that process of elimination. The only one that makes sense here would be while, right? So just read through it, see which ones you can cut, and just, you know, see how they affect the meaning of the sentence. Which of the following sentences uses a word with an apostrophe correctly? So remember, apostrophes, they show possession, or they show where two words have been joined together. So YOU apostrophe RE is technically saying you are. So you are gym membership expires in 3 months. That's incorrect. Despite IT apostrophe S literally means it is. So despite it is name, so that's not correct. There is no coffee in coffee cake. If you write ITS, that means something belongs to it. In that case, this would be correct. Example B would be correct, but IT apostrophe S is not correct. They are only. So that's the wrong there. This is they are only spots available left. The students determine who is going to be the class president. So option D would be your correct answer here. So you got to know how these punctuation marks work, and you know, to do that, you can go back and review. You know, the first 1 to 10 assignments on my YouTube channel, we went through all the punctuation marks, and we had a good discussion on how they're used, and you know, and then you can also find some good guidelines in Unit 1 of OLC4O. Which opinion tells how to make the following sentence correct? The chairperson of the student council, Marta Alton, was proud of her school's participation in the fundraising event. So which option tells us how to make the following sentence correct? Should we capitalize fundraising? I don't think so, because it's not a specific noun. Should we put a comma after Alton? I think that's the correct answer, because it says the chairperson of the student council, comma, Maria Alton, but there's no comma there, and there definitely should be. Remove the apostrophe in schools. The apostrophe S here is correct because there's something that does belong to the school. And replace the comma after council with a colon. No, and that would not be correct. So we don't use. So we use colons to introduce, you know, to introduce ideas, to introduce lists and things like that. So I don't think it would be appropriate in this case to use a colon. The way they've used the commas here is useful. So, you know, you could say my favorite hockey player, comma, Connor McDavid, comma, is playing tonight. You know, that's one way you could do that, right? So I would think that option B is correct here. And then maybe we can just talk a little bit about this. So if you're going to get a writing task on your final exam, You may want to practice, some of you may want to practice the writing process that we've talked about in this course a lot. So I would suggest that you write an outline and sort of plot out how you're going to write this thing. So maybe think about, a historical figure you'd like to meet, and then use specific details to explain why you have chosen this person. And then maybe just think about how you're going to link those ideas together. So we could just wrap things up with that, right? So if you get a writing, you get a writing assignment on the final exam, and you have to sort of name a historical figure, so pretty much anybody from the past, and why you'd want to meet them. So you might want to do some planning here. So, step 1 of the writing process is our planning process. This is the writing process. You're not going to have a lot of time to do the other steps in the writing process, right? So, step 1 is planning. Step 2 is writing. Step 3 is revision. Step 4 is your editing. And step 5 is your publishing. But I would suggest that you focus on this one, this planning phase, and name the person. In my case, I would do Jimi Hendrix. And why you'd want to meet them. In my opinion, he's the greatest guitar player ever. He changed music. He changed music. He was influential. Yeah, you got to think of a bunch of reasons for why you'd want to meet this person, and what you could write about. I just want to go back and have a look here at how that question was phrased. It was, identify a historical figure you'd want to meet. Use specific details to explain why you have chosen this person. Okay, so so it's all about me here, right? So and I would mention listening to him while I learned how to play guitar. I'd also say, my dad loved him too. So I've got these details, right? So he's the greatest guitar player ever. That's my opinion. I think he changed music forever. He's very influential. I listened to him while I learned how to play guitar when I was young, and my dad loved him too. So that's what I would do. I would and then I would think about how I would approach this article, and how I would create an information paragraph that talked about the impact that Jimi Hendrix had on me, and why, if I could meet anybody from history. I don't know if he'd be number 1 for me. He's the first thing that came to my mind, so that's probably important too, right? The first people that come to your minds here are going to be probably ones that you could write about. So you may not have too much time to figure this out, but you may even want to start with writing a list of like you could even like list 3 people. That could even be your first move. List 3 people, and then you pick the best one, the one you can think of the most stuff to write about. The one that's going to give you the most information, right? Because again, you don't have a lot of time. It is a final exam. You're being timed. You've only got 2 hours to do this. If you're writing the course culminating activity, it's a little bit different. You have a little bit more time, but if you are under pressure, if it's that timed exam, you want to strike a balance between doing some planning, doing some work ahead of time, and then writing it out. But you want to set yourself up for success, and if you can pick a historical figure, or if you can pick a topic that you can write about like right now and get a bunch of information on the page, and you're not struggling to come up with ideas, you're just simply getting all those ideas onto the page and picking the best ones. That's going to be the best thing for you. So that's all the time that we have for today's class. We will wrap up our course tomorrow with one more look at a practice exam. So we'll even let's see how much more. Maybe we'll finish up by having a look at some of the stuff in this practice exam, and if we have time, we'll open up another one just to give us some more experience, some more practice. Okay, so thanks for tuning in. I will see you tomorrow.